Imagine walking through the streets of Turin on a cold morning in January 1889. A coachman is beating his exhausted horse. The crowd barely notices, but one man suddenly rushes forward. He throws his arms around the horse's neck. He begins to sob. Moments later, he collapses to the ground. He never fully recovers. That man was Friedrich Nietzsche, one of history's most brilliant philosophers, a man whose writings would reshape psychology, theology, literature, politics, and modern philosophy. And yet, for more than a century, one question has remained unanswered. Why did Nietzsche lose his mind? Was it disease, exhaustion, loneliness, or was there something deeper that no medical diagnosis can fully explain? This is not just the story of a philosopher, it is one of history's greatest intellectual mysteries. Before his collapse, Nietzsche was astonishingly productive. He challenged nearly every foundation of European civilization: religion, morality, truth, even the meaning of human existence. He declared that God is dead, not as a celebration, not as a scientific statement, but as a diagnosis. Europe, he believed, had already stopped believing in Christian God, even if it had not yet admitted it. Without that foundation, he warned, an entire civilization would eventually face a crisis of meaning. Many people remember only those three words: God is dead. But few remember the warning that came with them. If the old values disappear, what will replace them? Who will decide what is good, what is evil, what gives life meaning? Nietzsche believes humanity would eventually have to answer those questions for itself. It was a radical vision, one that continues to provoke debate today. Yet the man who challenged civilization itself lived a remarkably difficult life. He suffered chronic migraines, terrible digestive problems, failing eyesight, long periods of isolation, friendships collapsed, and his relationship with the composer Richard Wagner ended in bitterness. The woman he hoped might love him rejected his proposal. His books sold poorly. For much of his life, almost nobody seemed to understand what he was trying to say. He wandered from city to city, often alone, writing, thinking, rewriting, always searching, always pushing himself further. Then came Turin, January 1889. After embracing the beaten horse, Nietzsche's behavior became increasingly erratic. He wrote strange letters. Some were signed Dionysus, others the Crucified. He claimed impossible identities. Friends realized something was terribly wrong. Soon, he was taken into medical care. He would never again write philosophy. For the remaining years of his life, his mind slowly faded. When he died in 1900, one of history's greatest philosophical voices had already been silent for more than a decade. But what actually happened? At the time, doctors believed Nietzsche suffered from neurosyphilis. For decades, that became the standard explanation. Yet, modern researchers are no longer convinced. Some suggest a rare hereditary neurological disorder. Others propose frontotemporal dementia. Some argue for a brain tumor. Others point to bipolar disorder, vascular disease, or a combination of multiple conditions. More than a century later, there is still no medical consensus. Ironically, one of the greatest critics of certainty has become the subject of enduring uncertainty. But medicine is only one way of asking the question. History asks what happened. Neurology asks what failed inside the brain. Psychiatry asks how the mind unraveled. Yet, religion asks something different. Philosophy asks something deeper. Did Nietzsche simply become ill? Or does his collapse reveal something about the human condition itself? Different civilizations answer that question in remarkably different ways. To some, he was a tragic genius destroyed by disease. To others, he was a prophet who saw too far. To others still, his life became a cautionary tale about pride, faith, reason, or the limits of human knowledge. The same man, the same collapse, completely different meanings. In this series, we will explore those meanings one by one. How do Christian thinkers explain Nietzsche? How do atheists respond? What do Muslim philosophers say? How might Jewish thinkers understand him? Would Buddhists see his collapse differently? What about Hindu philosophy? And finally, what can modern psychology and neuroscience actually tell us? Perhaps the most fascinating mystery is not why Nietzsche collapsed. Perhaps it is why every civilization tells a different story about the same event. In the next episode, we begin with the traditions that Nietzsche challenged most directly: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. What do they believe happened to Friedrich Nietzsche, and what do their answers reveal not only about Nietzsche but about themselves?